Len Harvey initiated the formation of the Tuli breed in the Wanda district in southern Rhodesia. Len, who was a land development officer, was also tasked with the supervision of routine dipping of native cattle. It was during this duty that he noticed a superior indigenous cattle breed that he believed would do much better than imported European breeds. After 4 years, he persuaded senior officials in his department of the potential of this indigenous breed and of the advantages of improving indigenous cattle through selection. He was allowed to start a Tuli breeding station, and by 1955 the Tuli was recognized as an indigenous Rhodesian breed. The first Tulis were introduced to South Africa in 1977. This had a huge impact on the Tuli breed, as for the first time a broader community of cattle breeders was made aware of the breed. In 1981, a Tuli bull won the Warmbaths Agricultural Show, and this set the Tuli on its path not only to recognition in South Africa, but eventually recognition worldwide. Why does the Tuli do so well under local South African conditions?
That are in harmony with the environment, that have no stresses that will affect fertility. And this is where the Tuli fits in. And if you remember yesterday, we could walk in between them. They're not bothered. I took a series of pictures of a cow just licking her calf, grooming her calf. And that mother, that maternal instinct of these animals is fantastic, because you want a cow that will look after her calf, look after it well, because the calf responds positively as well. And you've got that other advantage that she's going to protect that calf as well.
Yes.
This breed has got exceptionally good udders. You're looking at a beef breed basically, so you don't want a pendulous udder too big, but you don't want a too small udder. You want good, strong, well-placed teats. And if you walked through those cattle yesterday, just looked at the udders, fantastic udders. Len Harvey started life as a milk producer. So he knew all about problems with teats and udders and things like that. And here's a breed that just doesn't have that problem. But there's enough milk to rear a good calf, and that's what it's all about. Look, they've just got very strong hooves. If you looked at those claws, the claws are open slightly. And that's a good thing as well, so there's enough room there, they don't get stones caught in between the claws and things like that. So you've got an open, strong hoof. You see the size of that hoof as well. That's the hoof of an animal that can walk long distances. And that's what you want. Yeah, if you start from, one of the biggest problems these days is flies biting and sucking lice, things, ticks and that. And so the animal needs to be able to groom itself. If you look at a Tuli, number one, it's got a long, thin tail, so there's a good fly swatter. Because of the way it's built, in other words, the humans haven't messed around with it too much. It can groom itself. In other words, it can lean back and lick at parts where there could be something bothering it. It could scratch its ear with its hind foot and things like that. So you've got an animal that can groom. Then you've got a skin that has got very well developed panniculus muscles just under the skin. So if a fly lands on that animal, you'll see it sort of tremble, gives a bit of a tremor. Now that's a reaction to the fly settling on it, and then that chases the fly away. You don't find those muscles in your European breeds because they don't need them. And then it's also got what we call an immune reaction to the actual tick starting to bite. So that's why they talk about a tick-tolerant breed, because it actually has an immune reaction. In other words, the area around the tick bite irritates the tick, and the tick eventually, drops off and it doesn't complete its cycle. So that's another thing. And then, of course, the skin as well. I think this is important. We haven't actually looked at the sweat glands for Tuli, but your hot climate adapted animals that evolved in hot climates have got baggy sweat glands, so they sweat more. The sweat glands are nearer the surface, and there's more of them than you would find, for example, in a European breed where it's a coiled sweat gland. There's less because they don't need to sweat so often. So it's all these little things that add up to being able to offset the changing conditions and the current conditions. They have very strong enamel, and unlike other breeds, this enamel seems to get stronger as they grow older. There was some work done by a fellow called Steenkamp in Zimbabwe. They looked at Nguni cattle there, but Ngunis and Tulis are both Sangas, so you can, they both got the same sort of things. And the enamel is very hard, so you'll find, an old cow of say 14, 15 years still having a full set of teeth. It goes on up to 20 years plus. A lot of your European breeds, the teeth wear down quite fast. So you eventually end up with a cow that can't fend for itself. It doesn't have teeth, so it can't cut grass, and you've got to either feed it or you've got to get rid of it. So this is a big plus for a breed like this, the fact that they've got very, very strong teeth. And they'll last longer. And what you want to do with these breeds is, if a cow's calving, you keep it until it stops calving, because that's a very, very important trait, is longevity. And this is what you find in these indigenous breeds. They live longer because their teeth and everything are still working. Yeah, they just have a different you've got two types. You've got what they call a metabolic type, which is more your European breed. They have to adapt to cold climates, so they want to store energy. And then you've got what we call a respiratory type, which is more your African breeds, your Asian breeds, where these animals have to have less exposure to the sun, so they tend to be thinner if you look at them from the top. And they also have a bigger lung capacity, which means that they can use the evaporated cooling in the lungs to actually lower temperatures while they control temperature that way. So, and this is important. Your European breed doesn't need to do that. So that's why it has a different structure as far as the lungs are concerned. So you have an animal that's well adapted, good temperament, and it has top quality beef. Our Sangha breeds have got really good quality beef. So you can either use them as pure breeds in a beef marketing system or beef production system, or you could cross them with another good beef breed. An example would be an Angus, for example, that you could cross a Tuli with an Angus and produce a calf for the feedlot as well. Either terminal crossbreeding, that's where you use a small to medium frame female with another heavier beef breed, or the other way around, that you would use your Tuli bull on a small to medium frame breed. There's enough difference, for example, between a Tuli and a Brahman to give you a lot of heterosis. So your forced crosses are going to be good animals that can be used for the feedlot, etc. I think that's the important thing. You've got a breed from Africa, for Africa, well adapted, suited to the climate, and suited to climate change as well. A restful grazer, and whether we like it or not, the majority of our beef comes from the veld.